The problem with editing is I don't like to listen to my own voice, so I just don't edit.
Very relatable.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Playstyle podcast. And today I have one more new guest with a lot more stories. And cool thing about this guest is, right, I just know him as Project Bibliotherapy. I had to actually stalk you 2 layers underneath, like on your Instagram to find your real name because I'm like, to send out an email, I'm like, hi, Project Bibliotherapy, it doesn't sound right. So that's how I know your name. So we have Nitin, and I'll leave it to him to introduce where he's joining us from and what he does, and then we will talk about what this podcast does as well.
Hey Sean, it's a pleasure to be here, first of all. And yes, finding my real name shouldn't be that tough, but there are a couple more layers, so thanks for that. So, for everyone out there, hi, Nitin here, and Project Bibliotherapy is my sanity project since March 22nd, 2020, where I basically nudge people to read more. So, in the 35 years which happened between my appearance on Earth and, well, the moment when life changed for everyone last year,
The unprecedented times, yes.
yes, check. And yeah, if you were playing a drinking game, we should not use this phrase. So, yeah, in the 35 years which happened between 1985 and 2020, there's been one constant thread through it all, which is that I've been a reader and I read for pleasure. And all the different stages of my life, school, college, postgrad, job one, job two, they all had this in common. And apart from reading, so reading was my gateway to the world of consumption, the world of consuming content before it became the go-to slang
The
in
content,
this
yes.
in the present. So yeah,
Yeah,
reading led
we
to exploring new worlds, and part of those new worlds were games as well, because I believe I'm one of the fortunate few who grew up in a time where everything was analog. You could you needed to hold something in your hand to actually experience it. And slowly and surely over time, the whole transition to a digital world in all aspects has been fantastic. And especially playing games, that has been one heck of a journey so far. So, super excited to be here.
Nice. Thank you. I'm also super excited to get you on this podcast because I follow him and I always get this, as he says, nudges to read, but I don't read enough. I just think like maybe one day his nudges would work, so I follow him on Instagram. You should as well.
Got a couple of recommendations, but we'll save that for the end of the show.
Yeah,
Let's
we'll
make
do
this
that
about
at the
games.
end. Yes. So otherwise, we'll go into the book recommendation. And right now, we are not recording the video, but I can see him like his background is basically books, and I don't think that's a fake background. It's actually a showcase filled with books.
Yeah, it's all over the place.
Yeah. So let's come to this podcast. So what I do on this podcast is I have been making games for a long time, and it's always been like whenever we talk about games in a more published sense, whether it's blog or podcast or anything, it's mostly people who make games talk to people who make games. So there is this loss of like, wait, players are playing games, they have their experiences, they have something. We always talk about, oh, as a player, that person might be thinking like this, and that's how we make games because that's one of the thought process that goes on in designing every game. So that's why here I just started this space as let me reach out to people who play games, who have some stories about games, and let's see how it goes. Now, before we go into the game topic, I will just start off with one word that comes to your mind when I say games, be it anything.
Ah, simple actually.
Yeah.
Arcade.
Nice. Cool.
So,
This is cool. I have not done so many episodes, but every episode I have got some different answer, which is nice. I hope it continues. So even though so people should listen to previous episodes so that I get more listens and then think about a new answer and then join me. Good.
yeah, works.
Yeah, and arcade is a good starting point. I guess that reminds like that would be where you started gaming, or like how were you introduced to games, or what is the earliest memories? We can just start there and then we talk about the recent digitalization of them.
So, my first memory of a game, like a proper game in the digital sense, something I'm playing and controlling on a screen,
Hmm.
that was this tiny little Mickey Mouse Nintendo game where there's this Mickey and you control him using four directional buttons,
Yeah.
one on each corner, and there are a bunch of hens which are laying eggs, and you gotta like grab all those eggs in the basket, and if three of them drop, that's it, the end. So that's my first memory of playing a game.
Oh
But
yeah, it was like I'm live fact checking by googling it on the side. I see like it was this Mickey Mouse something game and watch Nintendo. It
yes,
says
knit and watch. Never
yes.
forget the watch.
You have to watch or you
Also,
will drop the eggs. So.
exactly. And along the same lines, there was something called a cookie counter. So this is an aunt had got it from me from the US.
Hmm.
So it's basically the Cookie Monster from Sesame Street trying to, you know, teach you how to count, add, subtract, multiply, divide. And there's this one particular mode in which he basically juggles cookies and you gotta hit the left and the right button to make sure that as soon as a cookie arrives at his hand, the right button, otherwise it's a forfeit.
Oh, nice.
So those are like the earliest memories of me playing a game per se. And why I mentioned arcade as the first thing that came to my mind, got this memory of spending my summer vacations at my grandmother's place in Delhi.
Hmm.
So, whenever my cousins used to come over, there was this tiny little arcade, not bigger than your average cyber cafe. I think it turned into a
Yeah,
cyber cafe
of
later
course.
on. But in the late 80s, early 90s, there were these big original arcade games like your Street Fighter,
Yeah.
your Road Fighter. There was this one particular favorite which went by the moniker of Mustafa,
Hmm.
Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. That was one of those side scrolling ones where you choose a character, pick up weapons on the way, fight with bad guys, and there were dinosaurs and Cadillacs. That was a cult classic back in the day, which I recently discovered there's a port of it on Android as well, an
Oh,
illegal
nice.
port, but still good for nostalgia purposes. And that's what gaming is for me. Like, for me, it's an arcade in my mind where I go to have fun, I go to escape. And over time, that arcade just has more and more games being added to it, or it's always been along the casual side
Yeah.
because my parents never really bought me a console. Like, never. None of those early media tech ones or the PlayStation, the
Yeah.
Xboxes, they were never on my radar. So I
But
sneakily, yeah.
yeah, and but then now this is I was googling the Mustafa Cadillac and dinosaurs. It looks quite fun, I think. So it's cool. Yeah, I didn't
It's
know about this
interesting.
game. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
nice. I don't know.
it's
It
a
just
classic in its own right.
the naming is perfect. Like it has Cadillac and dinosaurs. That's what the game is
Exactly.
about. So perfect. And then like now, just jumping to present. Like, are you playing right now, or do you have a reason that you don't have enough time?
So, before I hopped onto this call earlier this evening, I checked how many gaming apps do I have on my phone,
Yeah.
and there are a total of six right now.
Okay,
out of
that's
which
more, that's six more than nothing, so that's good.
yes, but apart from one particular game which I spent a lot of this year playing with my
Hmm.
sister in, yeah, maybe to recognize its 10-year anniversary, Fruit Ninja. The
Oh,
rest
nice.
have been pretty dormant. Like there's this Shorties crossword app which is one of the very few apps which is Android only.
Hmm.
So that's it. Basically what it does is it combines the best crosswords from across publications and you could solve it. The
Oh, nice.
interface is excellent, like the best I've seen in the crossword app. So, what else do I have on my phone right now? There's Quiz Up, but I believe it's no longer functional. That used to be an all time favorite.
Yeah, it used to be, it had its time when it was like super competitive. It was fun then. I know, even I used to play it a lot.
Yeah, and along the same lines of like playing with someone else randomly across the world or just a friend, Word Feud.
Uh-huh.
That's
Yeah,
a
I can
Scrabble
guess.
clone, which
Yeah, I can guess where
is,
it comes from the whole reading books, and yeah, of course you like word and word related games.
yeah, I mean, Scrabble was the earliest board game I got my hands upon,
Hmm.
and yeah, my parents were always indulging me with board games. So these days, especially during the lockdown, and also before this happened in March 2020, the
Yeah.
previous 3 years, also I was away from the corporate world.
Hmm.
I had taken a sabbatical in August 2017. So the time when I wasn't traveling or doing my own stuff, I was basically at home.
Yeah.
And Catan was a brilliant icebreaker. Like
Yeah, it
that
just
is
takes a long time to play, but
not
it's a
actually.
fun game.
Games finish in an hour. So
Nice.
and
You just bribe someone to give you everything and then
exactly.
finish your things.
So even if nobody gives you anything, you got to score 10 points in it. It can't last beyond an hour 15 minutes. So
Yeah.
that's one of the most brilliant parts for it for
Yeah,
me.
I have tried playing it couple of times and I don't remember finishing the whole session. Like someone else joins in and then yeah, you take it up and you
There's a
continue or
slight
something.
learning curve.
Yeah.
There's a slight learning curve for sure, but the repeatability and the gameplay is impeccable. So note you could literally rearrange the entire board and choose a new board any single time.
Yeah, they
So
also have different board layouts already, right? If you want to play,
exactly.
yeah, I don't remember much, but as much as I've seen,
There are
like you have a basic and
expansions.
expansion, all that.
Yeah, you could trade overseas. There are a few special Europe editions where
Hmm.
I actually picked that up. I found it at a used game store
Yeah.
completely by chance and still yet to try it out. It's not the same gameplay, but it's interesting. It shows Europe in the 1500s, how it worked. So,
Yeah. Oh, nice. And like, do you now play mostly the board games, other board games as well, or is it like just couple of board games that you go to? Because as a board games to try out lot of board games, you need to have them or have access to them, which is a little difficult thing.
yes, so I mean, there are a couple of board games which are on my to play list.
Hmm.
One of them is Ticket to Ride, that's been there for a long time. And also, I would love to get into the Dungeons and Dragons mode at least once. Like, give that thing a shot. But with physical players around, like an
Yeah.
actual tabletop experience, not
A
virtually. Don't have
really
the
interesting point.
bandwidth.
And I think just the episode that I'll put out just before yours, I spoke to someone who is a very dedicated Dungeons and Dragons player, and he gives a
Awesome.
lot of his insights on his Dungeons and Dragons experience, so, which would be cool. You haven't heard it, of course, because I haven't put it out yet. So
Yes, I haven't so far.
yeah, so yeah, you should check that out, and people who are listening this, go back, listen to that, and also listen to this one. And that's nice. Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons has been really interesting. There are a lot of things in it. Even I don't understand a lot of it, but it's just you make the game as you go along, and it's fun
Yeah,
for people if you have like. years and years to play one game.
That's true. Another game on my to play list is something which I've been meaning to play since a long time. It's the text based adventure on Douglas Adams' The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which was written by him
Hmm.
himself back in 85.
Oh, nice.
So it's available to play for free online on BBC's website.
Yes,
So
I think I had heard of this. I have not tried it.
yeah,
Yeah.
so you could try it out. Like it's a classic throwback to those type commands like
Yeah.
Arthur walks out of his bedroom. So you have to type Arthur walk. So that is something which someday, soon enough, I would experience.
Yeah, it's very interesting, like the different kind of games that we just spoke about. They are not connected. Like you can't say like, oh, just because you like this, you like that, which is really cool. And that's what I also think as like there are people who like different games in different formats. And whenever you come to say playing on your mobile phone versus playing on board games or playing on consoles, there is a different sort of expectation that comes from it, I would say. And is it like that you consciously see, or if you find something that is on your mobile, say for example, if there is a Catan mobile version, which is
Hmm.
equally good enough, we will not comment on how good or bad it is, but would you be equally interested in playing it or no? I'm just putting a random question out.
So there is a Catan mobile version which is apparently pretty good. A
Hmm.
few of my friends they are like hooked onto it.
Oh, nice. I haven't
But
tried it. I didn't know. So,
yes, but personally I haven't really explored it because for me at this point in time games are mostly about interaction with friends and family.
yeah.
So, be it an online round of Scrabble or Word Feud, or a game of Catan or Code Piece, that's another favorite in the household. So, that's more or less a way to get out, what do you call it? How would you term it? Perhaps it could be, you know, residual tension out in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Especially with adults living in the same
Yeah.
household.
Healthy is questionable, but okay, whatever works.
Yes, so that's life these days. So, been cutting back on my screen time, but there
Hmm.
was a time like when I look back, I see there are like multiple well defined eras in which I explored gaming. One
Hmm.
is the pre PC, like before fourth standard, I didn't have a PC.
Yeah.
So it's basically board games and these occasional treats like Cookie Counter or the Casio handheld ones. Then once I got a PC, then that's when things changed. So I had, you know, so fun fact, one of your guests, Nikhil Pradhan, I think in
Yeah.
episode 3, he
Yes.
mentioned that he made a yearly trip to Palika Bazaar and that was his Christmas.
Yes, he did. See, I
So
have listeners who are listening to this podcast. I am happy.
yes. So, fun fact I lived walking distance from Palika Bazaar while growing up, like
Okay.
2 kilometers.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, I've seen that place almost at a regular basis, sometimes twice in a day, just to pick up a CD, come back home and check if it doesn't work, then go and
Yeah.
exchange it within the same day multiple times. And thanks to your podcast, like I came across this on Instagram, what, 10 days ago or something?
Hmm.
I had been procrastinating, digging up my CD archive and like checking it out. You know, that's basically what I've been doing all lockdown, just gathering stuff from all parts of life. My room is a complete mess. You're getting to see the good
It's
picture right
still
now.
organized as much as I can see, so it's okay.
Yeah, the parts which you don't see are the ones which are like scattered all over the place. And yeah, dug into my CD collection and found so many gems which I had forgotten I had played. Like
Yeah,
there's
it's
this,
yeah. Now you don't even find a CD drive in any of the recent things, so it's odd.
This is old laptop which has a CD drive in the household. So yeah, the monitor's half gone. The screen is like half visible. But I've been exploring that to transfer some stuff. But classics like Road Rash,
Yeah, of course. I
Age of
was big fan of Road
Empires,
Rash.
like that kind of stuff back in the day always took me to a world which I thought, wasn't possible.
And
So,
that's the escapism that any media does.
exactly,
Like movie does it in one way, books do it in one way, games are more interactive in that way. Like the
exactly.
road rash thing, I will like add on with my story because yeah, when I was young, I'm like my parents were living in a different city, so I used to go visit them sometimes, and they had like there was this one road rash CD, and whenever I went there, it was like it didn't even have all the things unlocked because to unlock you have to win your older levels, and like after a point it's difficult, and I if it's too difficult I'll be like no, I don't like it. And so I used to play the easy levels, I used to win, and then it was always fun to hit enter and kick people. And later when if I'm going out on like sitting pillion on my dad's scooter or something, whenever someone passes by, my leg used to twitch, and my dad used to like, "What are you doing?" And like I feel like kicking that person. He's like, "No, you're not playing this anymore." So Road Rash has very like distinct
Oh,
memories for me as well.
yes. Like, that's the first time I encountered Soundgarden as well. So, like, for a game in that time zone, like that era, to have actual OSTs and brilliantly designed graphics,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, and they had those cutscenes which were like
exactly.
real movie-like sequences. Then I know like a lot of some games tried it after that, but that is the unique thing as well of that game. That was nice.
Yeah, it was a good game, especially Napa Valley. That was the
That
easiest
that
one.
was the easiest one. That was all I could play because I can win it easily. And then it took some time to realize what the cheat codes were, and then it was more fun sometimes.
Yes, God modes
Yeah.
rather than cheat mode. Cheat codes. That's how I put it.
Yeah, of course. So now, like we spoke about all these different kind of like different media of interactive entertainment, like interactive games. W- What is it that you think that makes you like a game? Like, oh, I like this because of this XYZ thing. Like, for example, your current mobile games, which are mostly word based, but there are so many other word based games. What is it that you think this particular game that you're playing is, yeah, this is cool? Or,
So for me, it's more like an aha moment. So
hmm.
I used to try a lot of games, like especially on my phone. I got my first Android in 2011. It was a Desire, HTC
Oh,
Desire
yes.
Z
Yeah.
with the flip swivel hinge, full
Oh,
scale QWERTY
that
keyboard.
one. Yes.
Yeah, so I remember going berserk, like scouting the Play Store for all the gaming apps I could find, starting with the obvious Angry Birds, Fruit Ninja, Doodle Jump, then Temple Run. All those were there, and since early childhood, arcades have been these mystical, fantastic places for me. Like, whenever I'm playing a game on a PC or on my phone, in some respect, I'm going back and in my mind to a physical arcade when I'm standing, putting in coins, and experiencing the game, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, I
So,
can understand. Like it's the mobile Play Store or App Store, wherever you get it. It's like that. Like that's the kind of
so I
experience
try
you
out
have.
a fair amount of games, and the ones which just stick to me, like for example, I've been playing Fruit Ninja arcade mode for almost close to 10 years now. And
Yeah.
there's a specific mod which me and my sister have, like mode where we play the arcade mode 60 seconds each. Whoever gets the high score, we have like tournaments running into like best of fives, best of nines. So that's one example of, a game which has stuck to me just because it's like fun to play. There's a lot of nostalgic value attached to it. And at the same time, there's a set of games which replicate the arcade experience to the T. So, like Jetpack Joyride, for example, by Half Brick as well.
Yeah.
I
Same
love
guys.
that game. I love that game just for the fact that it doesn't take too much of your time and attention. Not anymore. Earlier, at one point, I was addicted to it, so it used to gobble up a few hours. But just a race for a few minutes, that hit which you need to,
Yeah.
just escape it all for a while.
Yeah, and
So,
when it comes to those mobile games, you have that. That's the expected behavior that you see as well. You have a
exactly.
short time. I want to play in short burst, and
And also, one more thing is that I never play the latest games. Like, I have no clue what is the latest in the
I was
gaming
going to come
market.
to that. Yes.
So, I've always had a personal computer which is like one generation, older than
Yeah.
what's out in the market. So, always used to like scout for games which are like released 2 3 years before that. And same thing with phones. Like once upon a time, I wanted the latest phone, but then the speed at which phones upgrade themselves these days.
Yeah.
After 2017, I've pretty much stuck to a basic Android, which serves my purpose. And I've also realized that casual gaming is something which I enjoy a lot more than competitive gaming. Like, you would never find me in one of those LAN matchups or multiplayer, PUBG
Yeah.
kind of situations, just because I didn't have access to that growing up. So, when I was in engineering college, we didn't have a LAN
Yeah.
till our last semester.
Okay.
So, in a way, I was spared being addicted to what was it
The
that
CS,
time?
CS that
The
time, like
CS
every
craze.
engineering college has the
Yes,
story of CS matches.
exactly. I
So,
missed that just by a whisker, but in hindsight, no complaints because, yeah, not my cup of tea. Shooting people and solving missions.
yeah.
I got my kick out of that. Like the last first person shooter I experienced and enjoyed was Max Payne. That
The
is 2001
old
or
one.
2002,
Oh,
the
yeah.
old one.
Okay.
The first one with the Matrix Wale
Yes.
effects, the bullet real time, I don't know exactly what
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
called.
it made the bullet time thing
Bullet
like
time,
the cool
yes.
thing in games. Yeah, they had a
Yeah.
new one few years back, which was also nice, but it was on the previous generation consoles which I had played. I remember, but yeah, the
Yeah,
first one has been
consoles.
very iconic in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll record. Is it recording? Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so this is another interesting thing. Like you pointed out, you play the games for a casual experience, whereas you have your book habit, which I believe is for the stories and for different, in a very different way. So which is quite cool because before we started talking, I was thinking like, yeah, I'm expecting you to talk about how games and stories are something that you look forward to, and so I had some expectations before I started talking, and I'm like, oh, nice, this is cool. You like casual games, but read a lot of books. It's a very interesting mix of things.
Well, casual games have their own stories as well.
Yeah, of
Just
course.
because they have casual in their title,
Which I
like,
totally agree. Like I am the biggest the supporter of that fact that this casual is very loosely used term, and like every game has its own story arcs or whatever. Like whatever keeps you hooked onto it, and that's completely different for different people. And
Exactly.
this
Also,
podcast itself, even in the four, five, six people now that I have spoken to so far, it's always interesting. Like, I knew it. It's just interesting to see those stories come from the players that, oh, I like this. And then if you check out the different people that I speak to, everyone's approach to their gaming habits or gaming experiences is completely different in their own way.
that's so true. And actually, it's the habit of reading which introduced me to games per se,
Yeah.
because, like, to a child who's like 8 or 9, he's just got a PC. It's like an extension of this text based universe. Like, this is early days.
Yeah.
Windows 95. I think the first one was Windows 3.1, 8 MB
Okay.
of RAM,
Yeah.
486. Like 8 MB of RAM, imagine, on a computer. And
It was
it was
huge at that
basically
time.
text. It was huge. And it was all in text. So I viewed it as an extension of reading. So discovering games also was, through magazines. Like, I have a copy of the earliest editions of Chip and PC World,
I remember that. I
PC
used
Quest,
Quest. I don't like. I used to get Chip and like those the CDs in it which had those demo games. That's what I
later
played.
called as Digit. So,
Yes, correct.
out of curiosity, I was passing through this bookstall last week, and yeah, I decided to splurge on the latest issue of Digit just to see what's happening now. So now they have e-DVDs.
E
They have
DVDs.
basically like a Google
Yeah,
Drive.
of course. Like you call it a e DVD and give a Dropbox link or something.
Exactly.
Oh,
So that
nice.
was
Yeah.
interesting that it still exists.
Yeah, even I remember I had a lot of those chip CDs and they used to come with demo games and
Demo games.
you get new game every few like every month, so that's cool. I don't want to buy the whole thing.
Yeah, Road Rash was through a chip CD, I think April or May 98.
Oh
That's when I
wow.
discovered that. They had two levels in it, if I'm not mistaken. So that was fun. Good times where digital wasn't like this massive, crazy world where you can find everything all of the time. Like,
Yeah, I
literally.
mean, now everyone has access to whatever they need, and that the lack of access was something that made your earlier, even if it was bad, you would still enjoy it. Like sometimes you always have people talking about, oh, this was not really a good game, but I like it, or this was not really a good movie, but I like it because of my memories attached to it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I remember those Sega games, like, you never really, they weren't really available in India. And even if they were, like, my parents were like completely against consoles, so I could never hope to get them. But in Archie Comics, there were these full page ads of the latest Nintendo, Sega classics. I remember Sonic the Hedgehog and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles featuring.
That was the targeted marketing of those times.
Exactly. And later on, I did get my hands upon an emulator and I downloaded all of them just to check them out. And they were so basic, like the 8-bit, 16-bit versions of Leonardo and Michelangelo
Yeah.
kicking shredders, but fun, but yeah,
Yeah, and that's what I like. There is a lot of this talk which always happens, like whenever you talk about movies, books, any interactive media in general. It's like, oh, I have these memories because this was amazing thing that I saw when I was a kid. But those amazing experiences, if someone tries to play it today, they won't have the same one because a lot of it is related to the context of when
exactly.
you got it, where you're getting it, how accessible it was, and all so on and so forth.
Yes, it's a completely new world out there now, I guess. Like,
And yeah, that's why I'll come to like we spoke a lot about, oh, this is cool thing, we liked it and all that. I'll try to ask now, like, what is it that you would in the current scheme of things, like what is it that you hate in the game? Like, I don't like this. If I see something, I try it, like, this is there, I'll uninstall it or maybe throw it away, whatever.
So there are particular genres which don't really appeal to me anymore, particularly racing games. Like after Road Rash, I tried to get onto the Need for Speed's bandwagon,
Yeah.
but I'm a slow driver in real life as well.
That's why you
So
drive fast in the games.
true, but that thrill, the adrenaline which some people experience, like the whole GTA Vice City,
Yeah.
the Need for Speed Most Wanted. I know friends who've like completed all levels, like played the entire game its entirety.
Yeah.
But for me, I mean, just the concept of racing against time, maybe because my skill set didn't really match it. But that's something which I give a pass every single time. And
Oh, nice.
also on the phone these days, like I'm very wary about the kind of games which I install.
Yeah.
Like earlier, I've tried out everything and realized that they can get addictive, very addictive. So that's one of the reasons why I don't have many games installed on my phone. I'm tempted to scroll through the Google Play Store to find out what's new,
Yeah.
but these days it's just a conscious choice to minimize my screen time.
Yeah, I
And
mean that is fair. Like that conscious choice is fair, but like when it comes to those things in the game, right? There will be something which you are like you said, racing as a genre doesn't appeal, which is a good point.
also one of those, detailed versions of role-playing games where you explore the world endlessly, like those massively online role-playing
Yeah, the
games.
MMORPGs, that's what
I
they're
missed
called. Yeah,
one M. So what's that called again?
massively
Massive
multiplayer online role-playing
multiplayer.
games.
Multiplayer. So yeah, that's also not my cup of tea. Like basically I'm an introvert at heart. So although those games I would find a lot of people who are also introverts, but
Yeah.
it's just too much socializing. I don't have the social bandwidth to invest.
I don't want to
So
socialize in real life. I don't want to socialize in games.
yeah, most of my socializing is one-on-one in any case.
Yeah.
So I'd rather prefer like a casual chat alongside a words with friends or a word feud or Scrabble compared to say, you
Oh,
know,
yeah, that's interesting as well because then you are still the social aspect. You need that in the game, but it's not with many, but maybe with a very select
exactly.
few, and it's still engaging stuff for you, which is nice.
Yeah, that is like a throwback to earlier memories of actually playing Scrabble, with a physical board
Yeah.
in between the players.
Yeah, and
Well, that
it
doesn't happen
is
too much these days, but when
yes.
it does, it's brilliant. And even the online version is also equally brilliant because, hey, geography doesn't matter anymore. I could
Yes.
easily be playing with someone
And
across the world.
there are so many words with friends related stories where people have met through that, and there's a lot of things about that.
Yes, yeah, I completely agree.
That's nice because when it comes to one is getting any game which had a real world equivalent, like Scrabble is that it is coming to any device, like be it mobile, be it PC, whatever. That is the true social aspect of that game is a challenge for a game to get it. Like you can think of any other game that can be brought to a digital medium, and unless it gives that same feeling of, oh, this was that experience which I had long time back when I played, and that is what I'm getting over here. That's what hooks you on, which is a good point, and it is different from you playing against 100 people and trying to beat them and come.
Exactly. Yeah. Also, certain kinds of games I have discovered thanks to the internet, which are in a class of their own. Like, for example, Exploding Kittens. It's a card based game by Matthew Inman,
Yes,
better known as the Oatmeal.
the oatmeal guy. Yes.
Oh, that game's playability is insane. Very, very short, flat learning curve. You could learn it in a couple of minutes, and so much fun otherwise as well.
Yeah, and
Also,
these are the games which depend on the players you're playing. So you have that. So this is a card game, like a real world card game for people who are listening, because we are switching between mobile games, card games, all that. So there is a mobile
oh yeah,
version
that
of it.
happens a lot.
Yeah.
So
So
get me back on track whenever you
no,
can.
no, it's okay. So there is a mobile version for Exploding Kittens as well, which I haven't tried, but I have tried the
Same here.
card game version, and it was one of the biggest Kickstarter projects, I guess, when they
Yeah,
came out. So it's super simple, and the interaction that it triggers between your group, that's what makes those kind of board and card games more fun and engaging. There are a lot of such games which are there. Uh,
yeah, the social aspect also enhances gameplay.
yeah.
Depends on who you're playing with, especially if it's a game of cards like Cards Against Humanity or the Indian version,
Yeah,
Cards versus
there's
Sanskar.
yes, I saw an ad of that. I want to try it somewhere. I don't have
I've
it.
tried it. It's actually very good. It's got a lot of desi references
Yeah,
as you would have made out.
yeah, of
But
course.
the team behind it, like they put up some pretty witty stuff on their social media handles as well. So
That's how I
they've
saw.
been
I saw one
experimenting
of their
throughout,
yeah.
yeah,
I saw one
throughout
of
the
their social
lockdown.
media posts, and I'm like, yeah, this is something cool. Should try out
Worth
sometime.
an investment. I would recommend that.
Oh, nice. And then now, like, because you don't like this particular genre or anything, if I have to make you try a game, like a new game, which is a racing game, what, like, this is a very vague question. Like, you might not know what it is because what would make you try out a new racing game? Or say a PUBG. Like there is this new game I'm giving you, and this is something I want you to play, and it comes up on your while you're scrolling on your Google App Store. What would make you try it out?
Okay, so Ishan, if you were to recreate a PUBG kind of setup
Yeah.
with all the 80s characters which existed in pop culture back then,
Hmm.
yeah, I'd be sold. I'd play that even if yeah, I'd talk to 100 players if I can choose Michelangelo or say Man at Arms or
Okay, so the
any of the Masters of the Universe as a character. So if you could do that,
yeah,
that'd
it's
be
yeah,
insane.
the easy way of like
The easy way.
put nostalgia in, and the millennials will be sold. Like it's
Yeah, I'm pretty standard that way, like complete sucker for nostalgia.
yeah. I mean that's why things are working, and that's why most of the movies that come out are sequels, and I don't know, part 55 of whatever things.
Yeah, but on the other hand, probably I'd finally get to, experience Team. I think it's coming out later this year. There's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game called Shredder's Revenge, which is one of the side scrollers in the classic Nintendo style. So
Oh,
I saw
nice!
the
Didn't check it
trailer
out
for
already.
that. It was kick-ass. So yeah, that looked like something which I would definitely explore. A new game which I would explore for a change.
Nice. And right now, a lot of the big titles that are coming in are like it's very difficult for the big title to be as popular with something that is completely new. Like you can see that in all the new games that you're like you said, like the newest games you wouldn't have tried so much because there is nothing that interests you to try it out in some way, and anything that comes up is part two or something, or like extension or something like that. So it's always this any one IP which is being built up into different ways.
Yeah, and Half Brick does this brilliantly. So they've tied up with Ghostbusters, Star Wars, and they'll do it for like, say a couple of months or something. Like right now, there was a Jetpack Joyride version with Ghostbusters elements in
Oh,
it.
nice.
So there's a new movie coming up later this year. So just to build hype about that, I re-downloaded Jetpack Joyride, played it for a while, just for kicks. So it
Ah,
works well. I mean, not just for the big budget, super blockbusters of old times, but even for, say, niche, pop culture
yeah.
references, like a Chacha Chaudhary game would be super kick-ass to play. I don't think there are any.
Yeah, I don't think there is any. Yeah.
Like, your mind is working faster than a computer and you have to stop the volcano exploding on Jupiter or
Yeah, the
Sabu will go
call
crazy.
Sabu and yeah, the whole what's it, the Amar Chitrakatha universe basically, which is
Yeah.
what they had, right? Was it Amar
That was Diamond
Chitrakatha? It was,
Comics.
sorry, Diamond
Diamond
Comics. Amar
Yeah,
Chitrakatha was different.
runs
Yeah.
separate. But yeah, stuff along those lines would be so much fun to play. And these days, especially with, the world at a halt, like
Kind of.
compared to
Yeah.
earlier times, it's still at a halt.
Yes.
So it's always, it's fun to explore times which otherwise, like, I believe that in the past 1.5 years, it's been like 1.5 decades have passed or something.
Yeah. No idea how long it has
So
been.
the time before that is more hazy than usual than it usually would have been otherwise. So always good to rekindle old memories.
Yeah, and that's why everything is going back to the nostalgia part. On lot of like a huge
Exactly.
amount of media is going to that part. And then like going back to say mobile games or any digital version of games, what would it be that like why do you come back and play it again? Or is it something that the game tries to remind you of? Is it something that, okay, I like this crossword and this is what I do, that's why I'm coming back? Or I don't know, something else.
So you're saying coming back as in after an extended period of time, or
Or
like coming back
tomorrow,
every day?
every day, every month, every week, whenever it is. Like
So
I play the game today and then tomorrow I want to come back and try it out.
So I have phases where, like, I remember this crossword phase a couple of years ago when I was solving universal crossword. That's one of the options in this Shorties app I mentioned for like 60 days in a row. And over there, even if you don't solve the entire crossword, you could see like a percentage, of what you've done. So that was my motivator to better myself every day. So if I do indulge in competition, that's true for a lot of things. It's mostly with myself, like to improve on a daily basis. That is one aspect, mostly with word games.
Yeah.
With the complete arcade kind of indulgences, yeah, I mean, I let it go. Like, for example, me and my sister won this crazy Fruit Ninja tournament happening daily post dinner for a good 2 months. Like, that's how we managed to make sense of
Yeah,
distracting
just
ourselves
sitting
from
at
the
home. Yeah,
COVID thing.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so that went for a while, and that was also the time when we got COVID, so it was helpful in distracting our minds even more.
Mhm.
But as soon as we recovered, we stopped playing it and, saving it for the next.
Next time
Yeah,
you have to sit at
let's hope
home.
this.
Yeah. I'll not say anything else. Sorry.
Yep, fingers crossed. Both fingers crossed, nothing
Yes.
happens. But yeah. So it's
Uh,
to sum it up, it's either, you know, improving yourself if it's there's some sort of a skill associated to it, or if it's just pure swipe, hit a couple of buttons, get that rush. It's a
yeah.
phase which usually lasts like a couple of months and then it peters off.
Yeah, yeah, which is like perfectly normal. Because when it comes to games, and especially when now with the accessibility being so easy for everyone, and everyone wants new users. Like while making your game, you want new users to play it and all that. So it's very important that those users also stay back in the game. So there are
Of
these some
course.
things that, like you said, the aha moment. That's what you work towards. That, oh wow, you have to do this, and you will remember this. That this was a cool thing that I did today. I want to come back tomorrow and do it. And there are different techniques, different games use it, different mechanics use it. But yeah, that's why I asked in terms of your gaming habits, how it was. And yeah, so good points.
Also, one thing about in-app purchases and notifications. Like once upon a time, right at the beginning of the Android, surfacing in 2010 onwards,
Yeah.
like that period, I would have explored that a lot more. Like if a notification came from a game, I would be easily seduced into
Yes.
opening the app. Now, if I see a notification, I probably immediately mute it if it's not already muted. And if that doesn't work, because there's always this little thing where they can add more notifications, which, sort of manage to slip in.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, it's straight away delete
Yeah.
because, yeah,
Yeah, and like this is a very good point because getting those notifications, especially when it comes to mobile games, and getting those right is super difficult now, considering everyone is used to it. They are a common feature, and everyone has so many unread notifications. Or if they are not unread, they'll just be like you would cancel it out, and that's how I use.
yeah, I
Like, so
mean,
I totally understand it.
same. I mean, right now, I believe that the best strategy for notifications is have no notifications. I don't know what else you can do, but
Yeah. And it is also like when it comes to games who do it well, it is of building your like you have to build the audience in some way that they are actually caring for your notifications, because now in your example I would
true.
totally imagine that if you get tomorrow a notification that the new quiz is ready or the new crossword is ready, that is something you care about. And
Exactly.
once you get your users, your players to care about it, and then you make it, that's what works well. But yeah, game design 101.
Yeah, noting down, noted.
Yeah, I mean, it was like we have talked for a long time, so we will slowly wind it up because I hope people listen to all of this as well.
Yes,
So
indeed.
before we like go to the end, give your suggestions for maybe some cool games or of course books, and so that people who listen to this also get nudged to read, and that includes me as well, but I hope I'll read.
So, earlier this summer, I finally read Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. And if you are someone who grew up in the 80s and the 90s playing games, I would highly recommend picking it up or downloading the audiobook version as well. It's narrated by Will Wheaton. So
Oh, nice.
it is something where you would get a lot of nudges to play games also, and tons of those tiny moments built in a narrative which eerily seems like today's times. So this book was written in 2012 with a future imagined in which everything was online.
Oh, okay, it's
So
a 2012 book. I thought it was
uh,
older.
2011, yeah.
Yeah, as in I
So
thought it was 90s or
yes,
something.
yeah.
So oh,
No,
nice.
it's
I
there's
will
a
check it
sequel as
out.
well. Yeah, there's a sequel as well called Ready Player 2. Don't read it immediately after Ready Player 1. I made that mistake. It's space it out.
Yeah.
And there's a movie as well,
Yeah,
streaming on Prime. I
I
haven't
heard
seen that
about
yet.
the movie, and that's how, like, I didn't know earlier that
Yeah,
it was a book. And then I thought it
always
was
read
an
the book
old book,
first.
yeah.
Always read the book
Of
first.
course. Like every other movie thing.
And if you're playing games specifically, oh yes, I cannot end this without mentioning a game which is more than a game for me. Probably would have heard of it, Pocket Tanks Deluxe. If you haven't, I think there's an Android version of it. Yes, it's
Yeah.
one of those games which deserve a multi-billion player universe.
Yeah, it's like those worms games as well, right? Where you
Yeah,
shoot from
it's
side
shoot at other,
scroller, shoot at
yeah,
other places.
side
Yes.
scrollers shoot at the other person. But the weapons, the arsenal, it's like with all the expansion packs, I think there are about 200 weapons in all.
Oh,
And
nice.
some of them are damn right wacky. Like there's this candy one and pizza one and whatnot. Like completely random stuff.
Yeah, and that's
Also,
a great example of like just make it wacky and it's fun. Like that's what you see,
yeah.
that you're cool and funny
So
because you
in
shoot
the
anything.
so in the pre-LAN days of hostel life, that used to be like one of the games which we indulged in on a regular basis.
Was it two players sitting on the same keyboard?
Same
That one?
keyboard,
Yes, yes, yes. I remember. Yeah.
or one on the mouse, one on the keyboard.
Yes. Yeah.
So one of the posts which I compiled over the past 1.5 years has been this showcase on this little known game which was bundled with most Windows PCs and is one of the most engaging games with a storyline, 3D Pinball Space Cadet.
Yes. It has a storyline.
This,
I don't remember.
oh yes, you actually have to solve missions, shoot aliens, hunt bugs.
Oh.
It's one of the most detailed pinball games of all time. And you
Yeah,
could
there
download
is.
it for free
Yeah,
these
there is
days.
also like if you see the actual big pinball machines, they have a lot of these story things going on in them as well. So
Yes. Yeah, but of all the games I've played on a pinball machine, this is the one version which has absolutely captivated my attention. So you could download it for free and it runs on a Windows 10 PC, which I found out last year. Pro tip, put some music behind whichever you enjoy, whatever artist you enjoy, and yeah, just play some ball. Good
nice.
fun.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice. Great
and
suggestions. So go read and play, find Pocket Tanks, play it out, read Ready Player One, then watch the movie, and then listen to more of my podcast. Follow me on Instagram. Do all that like, share, subscribe thing, and definitely follow Project Bibliotherapy to get nudges to read.
yeah, and it's a lot of content which I've tried to assemble in one place, like a library of sorts. Like, consider the internet to be the biggest library known to humankind. And I'm creating or slash curating a corner of it where I could showcase what I've enjoyed over the years.
Yeah,
And
it's really interesting. Like I follow the post and like I said, I have been following for a while, and that's how I know Nitin,
exactly.
and that's how I did know his name. So,
Yeah,
so thank you
one.
so much for being part of this and for I guess the longest episode so far. So let's see. Yay.
Thank you. So, this is my first podcast appearance. Never thought it would be about games. Probably would have betted it on being around reading or something, but absolutely it's been a delight. And you always remember your first. So, yeah, thanks for this, Ishan.
Awesome. Thank you so much and bye.
See you.